Wow, what a great video session. Now I know why you and your team are so busy all year. Fantastic to see it all in one place. But I really wanted to reinforce and stick to this theme that Sachin has painted about the future of being now. And as I reflected on this before the forum, I was reminded of that old Chinese phrase, which I'm sure you've all heard: one is fortunate to live in interesting times. And it's a very old phrase, so perhaps it's a reminder to us all that perhaps our extraordinary time is not as unique as it may seem to us in the moment that we're living in. And you know, as I get older, and as Sachin said, I was in Shanghai when they were still having ox building roads. I must be pretty old. But as I've been getting older, like many of you, actually, I tend to see early in the morning in hotel gyms. I've had to take up running to try to stay fit. And for those of you who run in hotel gyms, you'll know that running on a treadmill must be absolutely the most boring activity in the world. And to pass that time, I've taken up listening to podcasts, history podcasts, because they go on for hours and they fill all the time on running. And at the moment, I'm doing one on World War I, a guy named Dan Carlin. It's called, for those of you who like podcasts, Hardcore History. But I was really struck by this podcast of how difficult the military generals in that war had it. You know, in warfare, World War I was a period of extraordinarily fast technological change, literally from the very first day of that war right through to the end. And the change in the weapons available was simply breathtaking. You know, in many ways, the generals started the war with tactics that were really 19th century, like the same as Napoleon had used. But the problem was technological change in the form of things like machine guns and powerful artillery that were 20th century in their impact. So you had 19th century tactics, but 20th century weapons. That's not a good result if you're a soldier. The tactics became obsolete almost overnight, and as they struggled to develop new tactics during the war, the problem was the technology and the innovation didn't stop. You know, during the war, invented were the submarine, the tank, airplanes as more than reconnaissance, chemical weapons were developed, mobile armaments, even the concept of total war that involved civilians. This all happened during the period of the war. And imagine trying to lead in this environment of change. It must have been a nightmare for them. But one thing I also took out of this was that any advantages that were gained by one side or the other during this World War I were about maximizing the technological advantage and then taking very bold action when you had it. Now, clearly, for us, the stakes are not as high as during World War I, but in the business world at large, and I think in our world in particular, we are living, as Sachin said, in this time of really unprecedented and rapid change. And we need to put that change to work for us like the generals in World War I. I mean, just to name a few of the forces that are impacting our world. One, women's economic empowerment and the changing perceptions and realities of the role of men and women in the world, and importantly for us, in relationships. Now, this may be coming slower to India or not. As I look out the room, there's more women in the room each time we have a forum, so it's coming, but rest assured it will impact here in the same way it's impacting in all the major markets of the world. And it has important for us given the importance of diamonds as a symbol of love and commitment in relationships. Secondly, as Sachin has already said, we're seeing unprecedented digitally driven change impacting fundamentally how consumers learn about diamonds, how they compare retailers, and the way in which they purchase products. And luxury goods, to be honest, have been latecomers to this digital world. They held back, but no more. The major luxury goods groups are moving in force into the world of digital marketing today. And so must we. Third, millennials. Now, their priorities are shifting worldwide. We see this in our worldwide surveys, including India, in part toward more experiential activities, and in part toward what we call non-ritualistic celebrations. And I guess importantly for us, their view of relationships and marriage and their roles within marriage are changing, driven both by young millennial men and young millennial women. We need to reflect on what that means for our business. 4, I think the consumer's desire to know more about the reality of the products that they buy and the social contribution that those products and those companies, through their brands, have made to the world in which we all live. You know, one can't ignore the impact of climate change and how it's going to impact consumers' perceptions of companies' environmental behavior going forward. I'll touch on this again later. I think it's so important, this idea of a company's brand connecting with consumers through values. Now, if that weren't enough, we also have the challenge of the old marketing tools that we knew so well and used so effectively, you know, of television, of magazines, of newspapers. Well, they're all being impacted. They're still useful tools, but new tools like social media, digital advertising and marketing, this whole concept that we call omni-channel marketing, these are things that are still less understood by all of us in the industry. We're learning our way. They're less proven. They require expertise that we probably didn't even have in our organizations a few years ago. But they are becoming the media of choice for our younger consumers. So we have no choice but to be expert at them. And I guess I can't leave out the emergence of man-made, what I call the man-made version of crystallized carbon. I've chosen my words very carefully. I hope you didn't hear the famous D word there, diamond. The man-made version of crystallized carbon that is claiming, in my view, inaccurately and mistakenly, properties of a real diamond. Now, real diamonds, to me, are much more than crystallized carbon. Real diamonds are precious, they are rare, they are finite. The world stopped making them 1 billion years ago, and they are inherently valuable. And as a result of this, they're suitable for life's precious moments. That's why, because they're precious, they can represent precious things. Man-made synthetics, quite simply, are not any of these things. But they are being marketed by some today in America, and that's why De Beers has had to respond. And this is even leaving out, you know, the future impact of some of the technologies that Sachin has talked about. You know, we've got virtual reality. It's going to change retail. You know, augmented reality, probably get there first, but virtual reality is exciting from a retail concept. Artificial intelligence, machine learning, it's going to come to the way in which we market. And we've got a little taste of that just to scare you and excite you later today. It did a bit of both to me. And when you see Sophia, I think you'll feel the same. It's going to fundamentally change, though, work as we know it for ourselves and for our teams. I don't mean to scare you with all of this change, but it's a reality, so we need to face it. The challenge to us is, how do you navigate through such a rapidly changing world? And to be honest, like the generals in World War I, what we do know is just doing the same thing that we used to do was not the answer. It didn't work for them, it's not going to work for us. The answer now, as it was then, is to be thoughtful about what you do, to really focus on new, innovative ideas, but then in the end, above all, we need to take bold action against those things that we focus on. And for the De Beers Group as a whole, this is the approach we're taking. We are thinking carefully, sometimes thinking forward, to be honest, sometimes looking into the past for the core truths that will be an inspiration again for our future. And I guess at De Beers, we are extraordinarily fortunate that we can do this, not in a period of crisis in our industry, but when the business globally is in a very healthy state. We see continued strength in the major markets of the US. We've seen a recovery in demand in China, and consumer demand for diamond jewelry reached a record $82 billion in 2017. De Beers' rough sales so far in 2018, you would have seen the site reports, are healthy. Polished prices are firm and, in fact, strengthening. And from De Beers' perspective, our multi-billion-dollar investments, of which we're doing as we speak, in new production. You know, we've got a new mine which we've opened in Canada, in Gachagua, this past year. We've got a new ship that we put into the seas off Namibia, the SS Njoma, to mine the seabed. We've got major investments in our major mines to extend their lives decades into the future. At Jwaneng in Botswana, Jwaneng being the king of all diamond mines in the world, and in Venetia, our most important mine in South Africa. And those investments and projects are all on track. And why are we doing that? Because we have full confidence in the diamond business. If we look at it collectively over the next 5 to 6 years with all of our shareholder partners, De Beers is going to invest nearly $10 billion in the diamond business because we believe in its future. You know, and it's a time like this when things, yeah, there's a lot of challenges. As Sachin says, a challenge is an opportunity. But it's when things are good for your company that you must invest in the future to shape that future into the one that you want it to be. And that's what De Beers is doing now. In the consumer world, of course, I guess one of the bold actions that De Beers took now some time ago is the Forevermark brand itself. And at the end of this year, we'll celebrate our 10th birthday of Forevermark, where it all started in China in December 2008. And I reflected recently that if I had said back in December 2008 that a little less than 10 years later, 2018, we would have in the Forevermark world 2,250 of the finest retail partners around the world in 26 countries. We'd have 3 world-leading and technologically driven facilities doing selection, inscription, and grading in Antwerp, in London, and here in Surat, with literally hundreds of diamond experts, that we would be on our way to inscribing 500,000 Forevermark diamonds this year alone, and that we would drive sales growth even after a decade, 19% last year. This year we're even stronger, we're up some 28% year to date. And to do all of that along a really simple concept, selecting the most beautiful diamonds with a responsible sourcing story and an invisible inscription to prove it. Well, if I said all of that 10 years ago, I'm not sure how much support I would have got back home at De Beers, or even from you. But that's exactly collectively what we have achieved in an extraordinarily short time in the life of a luxury brand. And we only achieved it by taking really bold action in the belief that we had something powerful that was right for its time. And as Sachin had shown you already, India now leading the way in 2017 and 2018 with literally staggering growth, more than double last year alone. So India, in a few short years, it didn't start back in China in 2008. It took a few years longer to come here, but in those few short years, it's well on the way to eclipsing all markets so far, except China. I say so far, but if we look at it on a per store basis, India leads the way in volume sales of Forevermark. And like Sachin, I think we're only at the beginning of something extraordinary here. But I'm going to leave the Forevermark story, of some of which you've seen already on the video, to Sachin, and I wanted to spend a little time talking about some of the other bold actions that the De Beers Group has been taking across our various consumer markets and consumer activities. And I think these bold actions can probably be organized into 3 broad categories: what I call making emotional connections, being known for social responsibility, and maximizing the De Beers Group brand value. But in the end, to be honest, they all pretty much get interconnected to work in a single-minded and powerful way. Now, let's look at the first. There can be nothing more important than making an emotional connection between diamonds and consumers. Beyond building and investing in the Forevermark brand, which you know is our principal marketing tool at De Beers, we have, together with other diamond producers, also established recently the concept of the Diamond Producers Association, or DPA. And the DPA has now built up over a couple of years, has a worldwide budget of nearly $70 million for marketing what we call the diamond dream, those fundamentals of what make diamonds desirable, and to use that money across the US, India, and China. It's an investment, I guess, in marketing seeking us to sustain that fundamental positioning of diamonds as the real and authentic way to celebrate love and commitment anywhere in the world. Making diamonds part of this next generation, this millennial world, and not something that millennials just think was for their parents' life. I wanted to share with you one of the commercials which the DPA has produced for India in particular, which I think really captures this idea of emotion and commitment, but in the cultural context of India. Can I have the sneaking out film, please?
देखो हम बहुत गलत कर रहे हैं।
अरे कुछ नहीं होगा।
अभी यार तुम तो सुबह ऑफिस चले जाओगे, अम्मा को पता चल गया तो वो मेरी क्लास ले लेंगी।
अगर सास बहू खेल लिए हो तो हम मिस्टर एंड मिसेस खेल लें। पराये का खुद को खो के तुझको पाया, ऐसा तेरा मोह, आज जो तूने अंग लगाया, हो गई मैं। ऐसा प्यार बड़ी मुश्किल से मिलता है।
Now, obviously, the DPA campaign, which has only just got started, will take time to build its effectiveness. But I think that idea of real is rare, real as a diamond, is a really powerful concept to build upon, and it is exactly right for the particular market environment we find ourselves in now. But it's not only DPA focusing on this emotional message. Forevermark is also focusing on this core symbol of love message with its global campaign. And I want to show you an example of what we call Now and Forever, which shows how people celebrate the moment, the now, the joy and enthusiasm of the moment, but in a way that uses a little bit of forever as part of it. Can I have the next film, please? Come on, you've got to admit, it just makes you happy, to see that. It's what diamonds are about. It's that warmth, that commitment, eternity, all in one place. And that we must constantly focus and keep strong. But you know, it's not only today about love. Self-purchase by women is the fastest growing segment in the diamond market today. And Forevermark is tapping into this trend with its powerful US-developed, what we call tribute campaign. We aired this for the first time in the fourth quarter in the US last year, and sales in the Q4 absolutely rocketed. We've touched a nerve with this idea. Let me show you the film which we call Tribute.
We've come a long, long way together, through the hard times and the good. I have to celebrate you, baby. I have to praise you like I should. We've come a long, long way together. I have to praise you like I should.
For all that you are, the Forevermark Tribute Collection. Forevermark. Beautiful, rare, responsibly sourced.
You know, we need to stay focused on this motivation, because for our industry and for our brand, this is a long-term growth opportunity. Self-purchase by both married women and single women is going to increasingly grow as a market opportunity. And you know, the world, you may or you may not know, the word diamond itself derives from the ancient Greek word adamas. And that translates really as sort of unconquerable or invincible. And this seems to me like pretty powerful symbolism for the self-purchase customer. It's a concept we can connect, I think, back to the formation of the diamond itself billions of years ago, and the diamond's ability to have survived all these years and become the beautiful shining star that both it is and, importantly, she is. And this motivation is what's driving the Forevermark team here in India as they look at our half-carat program that they'll talk about a bit later in the year, the concept of the diamond as a symbol of a woman's achievement. Omni-channel, the dreaded word, omni-channel. For us traditional marketers, it's like learning a whole entirely new career overnight, but it's crucial. And the De Beers Group and Forevermark are making a major investment into the world of omni-channel marketing capabilities now. We believe that the Forevermark brand, for it to truly excel in your stores in the future, we're going to collectively need to welcome this omni-channel world. Now, what does omni-channel mean? You know, if we make it really simple, what it means is that we put consumers' desire first ahead of what we want to do. What do I mean by that? I mean, consumers today may seek information on Forevermark, on brands, on design ideas. They may seek it in your store, or they may seek it online. We know today they will usually buy in store, but sometimes they don't want to buy that way, they want to buy online. Sometimes they'll choose it online, but they'll collect it in store. And sometimes the other way around. The key to all of this is that we need to deliver not perhaps what we want to do, we have to deliver what they want to, the way they want to buy. And to do that, it requires us to master a very complex thing. We need to create a seamless interface between our advertising, our social media, our websites, in-store data, and the in-store experience. And it will require Forevermark and our retail partners to have an even closer relationship than we do today, particularly around collectively managing the data that we get about consumers and that you get about consumers through your interaction. You know, whether it's on our website or in your store, omnichannel is about how we engage consumers, recruit new consumers, and drive sales through whatever channel they want to buy. It requires a mindset. I just want to give you one example of where we're not good enough yet today. When we run advertising on TV, we spike visits to our website. At the moment it happens. It's not even like an hour later. We can see it in the minute the ad runs. We then track what they do. On our website, They first go to look up the design they saw, and they find it on the website. They then look up what store is that available in through the store locator. So we've now got their attention from television, right? They've gone on our website, they've looked up the product, they've looked up where to buy it, and we send them to your store. What happens when they get to your store if you don't have that product? You're a Forevermark, but you don't have that product. They've gone this whole journey, they've made the visit to you because they expect you to have it. Now, how are we going to solve that problem? Because we have to solve it or it'll frustrate our consumers. We have to get more integrated. And that won't be easy, but it'll be really important. We're going to spend more time discussing this in the months to come. As I say, it's not easy and it won't be an instant answer, but we don't have a choice. This is what the consumer will expect from us in the future, and we have to get into a position to deliver it or we'll lose out to other sectors. Now, when it comes to my second point about social responsibility, there have been a host of bold moves by De Beers recently, and they're all designed with one thing in mind: to build confidence and emotional goodwill for diamonds and our diamond brands. Whether it's our multi-million-dollar investment building an end-to-end blockchain, what we call Tracer, and the Tracer program is really a future-focused initiative. Last year, I would have called it Box 3, Box 3 thinking. Our goal is to build an industry-wide blockchain-backed system that allows retailers and end consumers to have full confidence in the sourcing of their diamonds, the ethical sourcing. It'll provide further proof, for example, that a Forevermark diamond's journey began in a De Beers mine and ended with your retail store, and the customer will be able to know precisely what that path was. Whether it's our Gem Fair initiative, bringing an entirely new technology-driven approach to the age-old challenge of the informal dining mining in places like Sierra Leone that have always had ethical issues. And rather than just working with NGOs on the problem, Gem Fair is about truly innovating with technology to create commercially sustainable solutions as a force for good in these informal diamond mining environments that have been so challenging over the decades. Whether it's our UN partnership, which Sachin has touched on as one of only 7 global partners who have made the commitment to be he for she thematic champion, to stand with women and girls around the globe. A commitment that involves a 3-pronged program for De Beers with on-the-ground activities with the UN in the diamond-producing countries to support young girls' education. As Sachin said, a commitment to achieve parity by 2020 in the appointment of women to management positions at De Beers. And thirdly, to use our advertising in a way to help combat gender stereotypes. Advertising can be a very powerful force. The key, though, is to maximize this partnership for Forevermark, to again attract new customers, to drive sales for our brand above others, and to create powerful advocates for our brand. So more on this topic to come. And our latest initiative in South Africa, where we have a particular problem of too many elephants. You would have thought we have enough challenges in the diamond business without elephants being one of them, but we have too many elephants on our game reserve, which surrounds the Venetia diamond mine in South Africa. Now, too many elephants, for those of you who know a bit about elephants, creates a risk to the entire ecosystem of the environment and potentially makes the environment unable to support the wildlife that exists there. But to be honest, you know, the traditional solution of culling just doesn't seem the right thing to be doing in this day and age. And so at De Beers, we have embarked on a project together with Peace Parks Foundation in South Africa to transport 200 elephants 1,000 miles to safe havens in Mozambique. It's not the easiest thing to do, to be honest, but it must be the right thing to do, both for the elephants and for De Beers and our brands. And even looking further out, and I guess probably the most Box 3 initiative we have at this time, Project Minerva. This is a research and development project at De Beers that is studying carbon capture properties of the waste rock kimberlite that the diamonds come to the earth in, or come to the surface in. And we believe it's theoretically possible to use the kimberlite collected in the mining dumps over decades to actually store carbon emissions. So what does that mean? It means we could create a truly carbon neutral diamond mine, a really extraordinarily exciting thing, I think, for the Forevermark brand when that happens. But I think the key with all of these activities is, again, to create the emotional connection with the consumer, the understanding that diamonds, and Forevermark diamonds in particular, are a force for good in the world, and that you can, as a consumer, be really proud by becoming part of this, by owning and wearing a beautiful Forevermark diamond. Now, you'd probably say to me, of course, for Forevermark jewelers to fully benefit from this, there needs to be a stronger and more visible link between Forevermark and the De Beers Group who carry out these activities. And I guess I'd agree with you, and that's what brings me to my third point about maximizing the De Beers brand value. So in the next year, De Beers Group will set out to tell its Force for Good story to consumers around the world. And this month, we are relaunching our De Beers Group logo, which we will importantly integrate into Forevermark's marketing activities to create a clear understanding that Forevermark brings all the social good as well as the expertise from the De Beers Group of which it belongs. And we bring that direct to Forevermark customers. On the screen, you can see a few examples of how we might use this new De Beers Group logo to support Forevermark in our advertising and in store. Plans we're working on now for rollout later this year, where the power of the brand is based upon this idea of establishing shared values with the consumer. We think if we can establish those shared values, this will give the Forevermark even stronger and more powerful emotional brand power. Now, that's probably enough, bold actions for one session, but I did want to give you a sense of the vision and the commitment of the De Beers Group in this regard. We, more than anyone, need the diamond dream to be alive and well, whether it's to keep that symbol of love and commitment alive amongst each new generation of consumers, whether it's to build new dreams around the strength and inner beauty of women, or whether it's to illustrate all the ways we support our diamond communities. We need our brands to build emotional connections with consumers because our brands are a force for good in the world, and I strongly believe that consumers will be emotionally attracted to brands, again, whose values they share. And to finish, I guess, at the very top of this list of bold actions, and that which I am personally most proud of, must be the Forevermark brand. Beautiful, rare, responsibly sourced. You know, that is a brand that is just made for this particular time in the world. And I'm so pleased that we all here together can be part of it. Thank you very much for your time.